Stay tuned now for Westchester Eye on the Radio with Peter Moses, John Sharan, and Ardina Seward on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome, everybody, to Westchester Eye on the Radio. I'm Peter Moses with my co-hosts Ardina Seward and John Sharan. How are you guys doing today?
Doing very well, thank you.
And I'm enjoying the fact that nasty white stuff is almost all gone.
For now.
Yes.
But we are still in February.
True.
Even though now there is live pitching and hitting and catching going on in Florida and Arizona.
I saw that on television last night. It was good.
People talk about the birds in Capistrano heralding the spring, but for many Americans and for many Caribbean people and South American and Central American people, this is the beginning of spring. When pitchers and catchers reported, that's it. My computer's making noise.
It's beeping.
So, Ardina, why don't you introduce our guest? I know who she is, but I want you to introduce her.
Oh, Peter. Well, thank you for the forum, because I am happy to present to our audience Gina Avila, who has graciously come into the studio today from a hall from Upper Westchester County. And Gina is the founder of a group called the Women's Empowerment Institute, which does a great service not only for young girls, but also for seniors. The age range is from 18 to 64. And it is...
Wait a minute. If you're over 64, you can't be a part... Gina, you can't be a part of your group if you're a 65-year-old woman?
So I'll explain that a little bit in further detail. So I am Gina Avila, president and founder of WEI Women's Empowerment Institute, and we currently offer 2 programs. The third is going to be open to that age group. The other 2 that we have, the first one we launched about a year and a half ago, is for women 18 and over. And we offer free professional development and networking for all Westchester women to come together, enjoy a nice dinner. We're currently sponsored by New York Life, and network. And we bring in people in the community that want to share their talents and their expertise to be able to empower women. And then we also offer the second program, which is a girls empowerment group program. And this program is for girls 13 through 17 to help them with self-love, self-esteem, confidence-building workshops.
Careers.
We definitely, and that's really the goal, making sure that they're ready to be able to tackle on any task that's given to them or any opportunity while they're in high school, but then, of course, when they're transitioning to either the workforce or college.
When did you found this organization?
So we received the 501c3 last year in the summer, but we ran the program for about 2 years now. So, and then the pilot for the girls program, the 13 through 17 program, last year was our pilot program, which was extremely successful. We had about 22 girls successfully complete the program. And you can see such a transition from when they started the program to when they completed it. And now these girls are part of the network. They're GEG girls. They continue to be supported by a network of professional women.
What is
GEG,
that?
Girls Empowerment Group program. And, it's about creating a sisterhood. If they don't have it in the schools, they don't have it in their communities, I want them to be able to have it, through WEI, which is something important. I wish I had a program like this when I was younger.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Colombia. I'm from South America. Migrated here when I was 7, raised in New Rochelle, but I went back and forth, went to a nun school in Colombia and then came back when I was about 16, graduated high school, went to college.
Do you know a news anchor down there? He's fairly well known. He was considered the most well-known broadcaster down in Colombia named Manuel Teodoro.
No, but I'm going to research him.
Yeah, you should. You should.
Actually, yeah, write that down. Interesting.
Gina, how does your organization supplement the schools? Because apparently there are guidance counselors in schools, programs in schools for girls.
Theoretically.
Theoretically, that's right, theoretically. So where do you guys pick up where the school leaves off?
Yeah, we find that it's really challenging for a guidance counselor to be able to single-handedly sit with, an individual girl on a weekly basis, more so a daily basis, and make sure that they're receiving all of the support that they need, emotional, mental, that they feel accepted in that environment. There's so much bullying going on right now. So I find that schools and the educators within the schools are only able to really focus on the troubled, right? They're called the troubled youth. So we want to take these girls in WEI. We want to make sure that we have the opportunity to listen to them, to ensure that they have, a network of women that are going to be able to support them and take them to the next level. And the other thing that's really important, the social network is huge, because a lot of these girls come from low-income families. So they don't have the social capital that we might have to help them obtain internships or just resources that they might need in the community, or their parents don't speak the language, which is where we come in. So, a lot of the women that volunteer at the organization or that sit on the executive board, we help and we translate, and we ensure that we have material also in Spanish for the parents, because we want them to be involved.
Physically, where is the program based and what communities do you serve?
So we're focusing on Westchester County, specifically White Plains area. I feel like it's the heart of Westchester, and it's easy for parents to be able to transport their kids, or the kids to get around through public transportation. So we're calling our new home White Plains Training and Education Center, right across the courthouse in White Plains. So that's where we're going to be having that program, and also
Which
the women's
courthouse?
program.
The county courthouse or the federal courthouse?
I believe it's the federal. Is that the white building?
No, that's the county courthouse.
Oh, the county courthouse.
Next to the library. The one next to
Correct.
the library, yes.
Correct. It's Quaropas, 303 Quaropas Street.
Yes.
Correct. That's where we'll be having our
You know what
programs.
Quaropas means?
I don't.
That's a Native American.
What does it mean?
I don't know.
White Plains.
Oh,
That's
The original name for
Plains
White
that are
Plains
Oh,
white.
really?
was Quaropas. Yeah.
Very
Well, you have
interesting.
to be from this area, from that area, to actually know
I know
that.
that.
Yeah, because we live in White Plains. I grew up in White Plains and Portchester. But we were living in White Plains, and I assumed it was some Italian guy or some Greek guy, that name for like Vinnie Quaropus or something like that, or Euripides Quaropus. And I looked it up, and I found out that it was named for the
Zorba Quaropus.
Zorba Quaropas.
but not Bernstein Quaropus. Anyway, we're about to go to our first, this is our only really long break. It's a Fox News break and a Fox Business News break. And to be honest, the only time I ever watch Fox News is when I'm in the studio here. We don't have to hear it, but the visuals are in front of us on the two televisions, or the four.
Let's return now to Westchester Eye on the Radio with Peter Moses, John Sharan, and Ardina Seward on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome back to our weekly discussion of issues relating to Westchester and the surrounding area. I'm John Sharan, along with Peter Moses and Ardina Seward, and our special in-studio guest today is Gina Avila, the founder of the Westchester Empowerment Institute, which is designed to help women and girls increase their self-esteem and to help them move forward in society with some support programs. And
Of all ages.
Of all ages. That's what women and girls, I tried to cover that
Right.
there. So,
But she said earlier that it was only till age 64. So now we've expanded it to all. That's why I said the all age.
Okay, that's fair enough. Now, Gina, tell us a little bit about, what was the motivation to actually get this started?
When I look back, and during the break, I shared a little bit of what my story is, and I share my story because I think it's important for women to know that regardless of what your past is, you can still move forward with the right support. And I know that many times I did have that support. You know, one of my mentors was the first one to encourage me to go to college. Even though I was a teen mom, I didn't think that that would be possible. Then after I graduated high school with a lot of stress and challenge of having a baby and trying to finish high school, I was able to do that. And then another mentor of mine, Selena Suarez, which is actually also a founder of another nonprofit organization, supported me to finish high school and then helped me with my first career opportunity in college access and working in higher education. So, you know, it's so important to give back, to make sure that once you reach a certain level or you're in a place where you're happy and you're comfortable with your life and your profession, and you really know how to juggle all that we juggle as women, that we look back and that we reach low and we lift up women to ensure that they're reaching their goals and their highest potential. And, you know, I figured after I worked at Grace Institute, a nonprofit similar to what I'm trying to create here in Westchester in the city, I found that I was missing a piece of me. I had gotten accustomed to meeting so many women and finding that we have, you know, brilliant women that just face adversity and end up in shelters. You know, I remember interviewing a woman that was a scientist, and, you know, she went through a terrible divorce, a husband that left her because he had so much money, took her to court and wiped her clean. She ended up in a shelter home without even being able to see her children. So I learned a lot of myself throughout that time, and I realized that in Westchester County, we don't have that support, and we don't have a place where once a month a woman can go and obtain the networking aspect, which is huge, a sisterhood, but also free professional development. It's really expensive. Anytime that I wanted to take advantage of these opportunities, you're talking about hundreds and thousands of dollars. And we all have something we can share. So I just wanted to create a platform where women could come, share their talents, their expertise for free to other women to help empower them. I thought, you know, it would make a lot of sense. And that's when, you know, we birthed the Women's Empowerment Group, and that meets once a month. It's every last Friday of every single month. And we have everything up on the website. So if someone's interested in coming to the one we're having this Friday, which is...
that website is...
www.wei-ny.org.
Very good.
And you have an event coming up this Friday.
We do. So excited. We actually have Karen Chow. She's an amazing entrepreneur woman. She owns jets and does... I'm going to have her explain it, so I can't wait for everyone to come because it's very complex. But she's, you know, a millionaire. A woman that's, you know, created something out of nothing, Asian, and she wants to share her story, but it's all about self-love and, you know, the importance of taking care of yourself first before you can take care of anyone else. So she's going to be sharing that and giving a special gift for everyone on Valentine's. It is Valentine's month, so we're going to celebrate self-love this Friday. So please, everyone, visit our website. Also on all of our social media, we'll be promoting that. It's this Friday, February 22nd at the White Plains Training and Education Center, 303 Corobas.
What time is that?
It's at 6 p.m.
So do men ever come to any of these events?
So it's interesting because we have board members, right, men board members that are huge feminists. And they're feminists because they either raise girls and they understand the importance of supporting one another regardless of our sex, right? Because we're equal. And so they don't come to the meetings because you really lose that sense of women being able to be as open, right? Because there's a male. Okay. Correct. But we do a lot of fundraising events. We have the Mother's Day Buffet coming up, which is going to be on May 5th. We also do our annual gala. We had an amazing gala last year, and it was at the Ritz-Carlton. We raised $25,000. And this year, we're going to have it at Lake Isle in Tarrytown. So it's going to be a sit-down, 5-course meal, open bar, dancing, all to raise money for our programs.
How have you seen it grow? I mean, how many people did you start with, and where are you today?
It's incredible. I remember the first day we had, the first meeting, And I had no idea how Eventbrite worked. And one of my girlfriends said, I'll take the event and post it on there. And I'm fixing the computer with my daughter, the techie one. And she goes, Mommy, look up. And I looked up and I just got overwhelmed with so much feeling and emotion because we had a line of about 35 to 40 women lined up to come in and register for this event because there's such a need. We don't really know until we try things. And so now we have, I would say a network of about 3,000 women in our network. We have
3,000, and you've been open for a year?
Yeah. There's a huge need.
Talk
and
about a
want to
need. Yeah, I was
support each
thinking
other.
that exact thing.
Absolutely. And we have a private Facebook page only for women, again, so that they can share, they have a concern, they have a question, they have, am I good? If they have a question or, sometimes you'll have someone saying, I have a job interview. Can you guys give me, any advice? And people start commenting. So it's an additional way to support one another.
Do you see a common thread, a common need amongst the women who engage in your program?
I do. It's acceptance. Being amongst other women that accept who they are, regardless of where they were raised, the accent that they have, the skin color, where they are in their life, what role they have in their companies. So I would say acceptance.
I want to expand on that on the other side of the break because the music is playing and we are winding down our first half hour. We are Westchester Eye on the radio. We are speaking with Gina Avila, who is with an organization called the Women's Empowerment Zone.
No, Women's Empowerment Group.
Women's Empowerment.
Available online at wei-ny.org. And you're listening to Westchester Eye on the radio here on WVOX 1460 AM and heard worldwide at WVOX.com. I'm John Charan, along with Peter Moses and Ardina Seward. And this is a topical program because, as Gina mentioned, there's going to be a speaker at their Coropus Avenue facility on Friday in White Plains, and we hope many people can make it.
With world and national news, here is
1460 WVOX.
Let's return now to Westchester Eye on the Radio with Peter Moses, John Charan, and Ardina Seward on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Westchester Eye on the Radio on this holiday, which means that you have more time to hear Gina Avila, who is our guest. And Gina is the founder of WEI. I love the initials. The Women's Empowerment Institute, which is located in White Plains. I am Ardina Seward, along with Peter Moses, John Charan. And actually, Gina has this on Facebook. So you can see us.
Facebook Live.
You can see us on Facebook Live. And we are talking about women's empowerment and the needs of women in their emotional lives, their educational lives, their career lives. Gina, let's talk about mentors also, because we spent the last half hour talking about the women who are helped in these groups.
And the girls.
And the girls, I should say. What about women who want to mentor, who want to volunteer, who want to help these girls?
Sounds like, according to this, they have a lot of those already.
Yeah, and it's wonderful that you're asking, because I know that there's a wealth of women that reside here in Westchester County that are either transitioning into retirement or have been retired for a few years, and they want to give back and they want to share their stories, which is a lot of times so impactful. They could just visit our website and search under, I believe it's, how to contribute or how to be part of. And then once you get to that page, you can register to become a volunteer. And we have so many volunteer opportunities. It could be someone that's interested in, helping us with the fundraising or promoting of an event, right? Maybe they worked in event planning before and they have that expertise. We'd love for them to be on one of the committees. If they're interested in helping us with marketing, if they're interested in becoming a mentor, or maybe working directly with the girls and running a workshop, or being one of the speakers for the women's group that we do on a monthly basis. We'd love to have them visit our website and fill out an application.
What is most lacking in the public schools? Because since you're dealing with budding teenagers, 13-year-olds, and then you're going through their high school years, what is it that's missing in school? Where do you have to advocate for them in the public schools? I don't want to go into the private schools. I don't know much about them.
I think, there's no one there really that's doing that individualized attention. Only the students that are being labeled as troubled or at risk are the ones really that are getting, any help or resources. But then you have, that girl, and we specifically focus on girl empowerment. But, for a girl that needs help, sometimes they don't know who to turn to. So I think that's the challenge. And,
what about the fact that even in grade school, middle school, and high school, that teachers make assumptions about kids' skills based on gender, country of origin, whatever. And do you end up going into the public schools at all and talking that, you have an engineering club. How many girls are in that club? How many girls are in this science club? How many girls are being encouraged to do other things? Because I know growing up that most of the best students in my school were girls. And they were much, if I needed to I wasn't good at taking notes, which was an odd thing since I became a reporter.
Yeah.
But I had a friend who I tried to take all my classes with her because she took great notes. Now, she couldn't put it all together on paper the way, she should have. But I don't understand why it is that that women excel at math and science as girls, some of them. They never move on, though. I know it's changing somewhat, but you don't see them going to prestigious universities studying engineering.
Yeah, and you're right. A lot of that is changing, right? And it's all about awareness and bringing someone that looks like them, that have similar stories, to come in and share with them that they can too do it. Now, we don't really advocate on their behalf at any schools because the program is designed so that the girls are empowered and that the girls self-advocate. Absolutely. Okay. We want them to build the confidence. And if they, part of the program is also conflict resolution. So we want to talk about what is the challenge, let's work through it, and how are you now going to confront this when you go to school, and who are the decision makers that you have to speak with, and how to do that. And I love what you said about, stereotyping. You think, I had one of my girls just the last session, 96.6 GPA, had a very strong accent. And we would never know, but I do a little bit on college access through at the end of the program. And when I started going around the room and I asked her specifically, what schools are you interested in? And she starts naming all these Ivy Leagues and great SAT scores. And I said, okay, let's break it down. What's your GPA? What are your SAT scores? I couldn't believe it. So here I am also. This is a Latina girl, right? Thinking
you were making an assumption.
Correct. I mean, it's normal. We're human beings, but I think it's digging deeper and taking an interest on these girls and giving them the time. And if it is the 2 hours a month that we're giving them, for them to know that if it's after hours, or they could still have someone to text and call and email.
So if you're doing this on an individual basis or in small groups. What groups are advocating, what groups are putting together workshops for school guidance counselors who can break down those stereotypes in the schools where your girls are not advocating? Because this sounds like a holistic problem throughout the United States, and I have no idea if it's going on in Europe or Africa or Asia.
Correct.
So I don't know the answer to that, but who's doing that? And why wouldn't you want to pick up the ball at some point and do something like that?
And that's interesting. We are planning of doing kind of like a conference tour where we get all the girls and the educators in the building, in the auditorium, and we talk about that and we address these challenges. And again, it's all about bringing information, right? Maybe sharing some videos and having some of the WEI girls come in front of the school and talk about their experiences and how now they feel empowered because they're in a smaller setting. They're able to be heard. and to cultivate whatever it is that their talents, their gifts, their expertise can be. Just from coming to these sessions. But yeah, that is something we have in mind. And, the program's growing. This is only going to be the second session we're running. And at some point, I'd love to share, too, the opportunity for the girls.
Sure. How do you bridge the cultural divide? And let me break the question down. For example, you have a lot of girls that come from families who have not been here that long. So this child, and it's not only kids whose parents are foreign-born, but kids whose parents may come from a rural part of the United States. Now, these girls have one foot in their own native culture, but then they also have to deal with the dominant culture. So they have allegiance to their own culture, but then they have to transcend that in order to be able to function in the dominant culture. And there's this kind of push-pull. Who do I belong to?
But that's as age-old as the United States.
But it is
that's not a recent problem.
But it is a problem, because you're going to have families that are going to say, no, you know something, you shouldn't become an engineer because that is not the role of a girl. Mm-hmm. No, you should not do this because that is against our religion. I mean, it happened when we were coming up. It happened in families who had come from the rural South.
You know what? It also came up when we were growing up, and you and I both grew up in Westchester.
Yeah.
Girls who were really good at science went to nursing school.
Right, mm-hmm. Right.
Not to medical school.
Because that's what your family told you to do. Girls don't do that.
Or your greatest aspiration should be to be a teacher. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a teacher. Nothing at all. But those were the educated professions that women were pointed to. Nurses.
They were the limitations.
Those are the limitations.
That's right. And that was it. There was nothing more.
So how do you empower girls to
get beyond that? But we don't have time for that before we're going to break.
but we have to get into it. This is very important.
Yes. I know, but we have like 35, 40 seconds. I want her to get. We all want her to give a complete answer. When we get back, let's talk about that.
Yes, I would love to.
And let's also remind people about the event that's coming up and what your goals are going forward, because I'm assuming this is going to grow into something much bigger, and that you'll be expanding to the 5 boroughs, maybe even the Connecticut, where I think they allow women to graduate high school.
Who's our guest, Peter?
Oh, yes, that's right. We have here Gina Avila, who is the founder of the Westchester Women's Empowerment Institute. This is WVOX, and we are Westchester Eye on the radio. We will be right back after this set of commercials. Welcome back to Westchester Eye on the radio. Since our lead-in tells us our names, we don't have to mention our names every time we come back in.
Well, maybe, but see, the point is to distinguish between John and Peter. Sometimes it's easier to identify who the person is.
I'm not John.
That is correct.
So we'll go with that route for now. And you can come in with I'm not Peter.
That is correct.
Ardina could say she's not either one of us.
She can just say she's Ardina.
Just Ardina. So we're here with Gina Avila, founder of Women's Empowerment Institute, which is a Westchester-based organization dedicated to empowering girls and women. What?
And they make plastic bottles.
WEI, yeah.
I said Westchester Women's Empowerment Institute.
Yes, Women's
Just in
Empowerment
case, it's
Group.
right there.
Not Westchester.
Okay.
Branding is important.
Did I say Westchester?
Yes.
You did.
Oh, I should be spanked. By myself. By myself.
Could you qualify that, sir?
By myself. Anyway, what are your goals going forward?
So I'd actually love to pick up on
the cultural issue.
Yes, the cultural issue. And I really feel that, and I wanted to touch on that topic because I think it's important. And it all has to do with awareness. We have every workshop that we offer. So it's an 8-week program. The girls meet once a week for 2 hours. We have someone that comes in and talks about that topic. So it's a specialist that will talk about the conflict resolution, but we make sure that it's extremely diverse. So we want women that look like them, that have had similar stories, so that the girls can connect and they feel that if this woman is here standing in front of me and has been through so much adversity and yet has, you know, been able to go to college and graduate and work on their profession and still manage a family and, you know, have a great network of women, I can do it also. And I think that's how we're making the change, by having women in the community that they would probably pass by on a daily basis, right, from living in the same neighborhood, but not know that they too struggled.
But how does a girl resolve not feeling like for lack of a better word, not feeling like a traitor to her own
stereotype?
To her own stereotype. Because sometimes it's so hard to break out of a mold, because there's always that pull from your parents, from your family, from the friends in your community to stay in that box.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
How does a girl break out of that box and still maintain allegiance to her roots?
I think it comes down to self-love and acceptance, right? We're going to be different because we have we were raised differently, right? We came to this country, and for example, I came when I was 7, then went back to go to school in Colombia, then came back. And a lot of times, because I speak English correctly, people would call me the white girl, right? The Hispanic white girl. And I'm like, what does that even mean? So I've had to deal with it as well, but I have to continue to stay true to myself and say, you know, I have a different upbringing, but I'm still true to my culture. So I think you could manage both depending on the situation and depending on your environment. And of course, you know, I'm not going to talk about all these things when I'm with my family. I really focus on our culture, what we eat, the music. I continue to play the music. So there's other ways to still celebrate, you know, your parents and their upbringing and the culture of maybe where you were born. But now you're in a different place, right? You're in a different country, and you also embrace that because you learn to love it as you're growing up. So I think it's really balancing both, and it's harder with parents, right? Talking to a parent about a daughter going away to college, when in their mind, oh, no way, that does not happen. In our family, our children are going to stay here. They're going to graduate high school. They're going to work. They're going to help us pay the bills. But it all has to do with educating them and giving them information.
And class plays a role as well.
Class.
Because in your family, education must obviously have been
important.
Something important. Yeah.
Correct. And for a lot of these girls, it is. It may not be for their parents, but that's where we come in. We also include the parents in a lot of the workshops, a lot of the follow-up, the conversations that we want to happen at home. And, you know, it's important that the girls also learn how to engage their parents and include them in all of that, what they're doing, so that they understand, you know, it's a little bit different here, and it's okay if I go away. And we can learn to trust our children. And, you know, by making right or wrong decisions, they're going to grow.
Hollywood,
so it's important also.
Hollywood seems to influence this generation of people quite significantly. And we've seen some movies recently come out. We saw Joy with Jennifer Lawrence. We saw Hidden Figures with Octavia Spencer and Taraji P. Henson. We have the new Star Trek reboot, which features a female in the lead character. Are these the sort of things that you try and make sure that you educate people about? Because these clearly could be examples if they're used the right way.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're doing at every workshop. We want to make sure that the girls feel empowered, and when they leave, that they can think of that person or the movie, a situation, a quote, that brings them back to, I can do it too, right? It's being done. It's done before. And that just empowers me to also be able to get up and do it. So I think that's important.
What percentage, I don't know if you have statistics, but what percentage of your girls go on to college?
So, I mean, we just ran the pilot workshop. It was last fall, and we had 20 girls. Now we're opening it up to 30 girls, which I think is going to be the max per session. And we don't have that specific data for girls that are interested to go to college, but most of them did show up to the orientation that we had and the college access or the early college awareness workshop that we did. And I also did it in Spanish for the parents because I think it's important to include them early on. But we had, freshmen, juniors, and sophomores attend the session. So I see that there's a trend. Girls understand education is very important. I mean, and I emphasize that from the opening of the kickoff, the launch of the first program. I always talk about my experience and how education changed and saved my life and that it would do the same for them. So 100% college is, and I work at a college too. So it's very important to me that the girls see themselves obtaining a college education and that they're prepared while they're in the program to do so.
I think Peter had a question before about going forward. What direction do you want to move the organization in?
So we do have some asks. I met a wonderful woman that's attending Columbia University. Her focus is on adolescents and developing their minds and their opportunities. And she's from Africa, and she'd love for us next year to run a workshop or one of the trainings at her home school. So that's going to be one of our goals for next year. And then also in my country, in Colombia, I have one of my cousin that is actually running, she's a VP at a bank, reached out to me, and she'd like to start the women's group there as well. So I definitely see us going national.
Your cousin runs a bank?
Yes, kind of.
I guess she's empowered too.
Oh my gosh, is she empowered? Yeah. She's empowered, and I think she's going to be single.
Is that unusual? Is that unusual in Colombia to have women in such positions of power?
Not anymore. Not anymore. It was years ago, but education's so important to us that, there's a lot of women that are just focusing on their career.
Are you looking to fix her up with somebody? You just said she's soon to be single.
I mean, I'd love to see her with someone, but if she doesn't want that, that's okay too. I say that to my girls.
Is that an inner conflict that you're finding among some people who they want to have a relationship and they also want to be successful in business, and sometimes it's a situation that they have to make a choice.
Absolutely. But I really believe in the power of manifestation. So if you dream it and you believe it, it will happen. And sometimes it's just not in store for you when you want it, right?
We're about to end our show in a little bit. And before Ardina tells us who our guest is next week, can you give us information for people wanting to reach you, how they can do so?
Absolutely. If they can go onto the website, www.wei-ny.org. We have our event on Eventbrite for this Friday and moving forward every Friday, every last Friday of every month.
And this Friday, that's at 6 this Friday, correct?
6 p.m.
At 303 Coropus, right?
Yes,
that is
you
correct.
got it. And then also, please, if you know of any girl that could benefit from the girls program, 13 through 17, the registration's also up on the website. And the girls, if they can't afford the $150, they can apply for a scholarship.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being on here this week.
Next week's show is going to be about using art as a political tool. How about that?
Isn't that what art has been doing for the past thousands of years?
Yes and no. I mean, there are a lot of ways to look at art.
I read somewhere there was graffiti that said Aeschylus picks his nose in ancient Greek, and he didn't get elected.
And just look at Guernica.
But it was graffitied
Absolutely.
over. So he doesn't pick his nose anymore. Anyway, so tune in next week, folks, and you will learn how to use art in our troubled political times as a means of communication. Have a good week.